So for our presentation today, we are going to just review very quickly why a task force, why were we compelled at our respective colleges to put together an organized group of people to address this population of students. And then we want to be able to share with you some of the activities and some of the accomplishments that we've had at our respective campuses. And definitely CCSF has had their task force for many years, and I think Romeo and I were actually inspired to create our task force after learning about CCSF. And then after you hear a little bit about what we've done on our campuses, we want to give you just a framework so that afterwards, when you go back to your campus or your institution, you'll have a couple of starting tools if you wish to do something that is similar. And then lastly, we'll have question Q&A. And so we're just going to ask that you hold your questions until the end, just so we can get through all of the slides and make sure we address our key points.
Okay, so the big question, why a task force? Why should there be a task force at an institution, at a high school, at a community college, at a UC or a CSU? What I found out was that because I work for Latino Services Network, I was running into a lot of AB 540 students, and suddenly I became the point person. And then after that happened, then my colleague Nancy became another point person, and just both of us, we couldn't handle it. It was too much. And luckily, we began to gather more people, and a lot more people became interested in supporting AB 540 students. And when we formed the task force, we really felt like we had a good group, and there were a number of people in it. And I think strength in numbers does matter. Systematic change, being that we have administrators and that we have faculty members and faculty that have been at the school for a long time, who know the system really well, and we did need to make systematic change, and I think for all of us that's very important. Not just, oh, we have this little task force and we're going to do this and this, but what policies need to be changed within the system. Changing the norm. I think for a long time, well, they're AB 540 students and this is all that we can do for them. No, it isn't. There's a lot more we can do, and us together as a group deciding and really brainstorming what we can do and thinking outside of the box, I think is very important to change the norm within the system. Holding institutions accountable. There are a lot of policies that are in place that not everybody was following, or maybe they didn't want to follow, or they didn't know. And I think having a task force and making sure that people are being made accountable for what is in place, and for making the changes that are going to help our students. Institutional advocacy and allies. I think that without the task force starting, I don't think that our students would have felt comfortable enough to start their own club. I think it's very, very important for us to be allies to our students. If you are an instructor, if you're a counselor, if you're an administrator, for students to know that they can come to you, I think is very, very important. And I think that it makes them feel like they could come out and be a little bit more vocal and open about their status. And AB 540 students recognized and acknowledged by faculty and administrators. I think that's really important, again, so that students feel very safe to come out and say they're AB 540 students and that they do need a certain kind of support, and for them to feel comfortable doing that with either their instructor or their counselor or anywhere else on campus. So I'm just going to give a little background about City College, and we started our task force in 2007, and it was actually from the Dean of Student Services, which I think was really important, that she went to a seminar and she saw a group of students in a panel, a group of AB 540 students, and she said, what are we doing for our group? And I happened to be sitting right next to her, and she said, we have to do something. And I think that really helped because she's an administrator. And so we did do we hosted our first faculty development workshop and we had AB 540 students. We had a panel, and we had one student who really helped us put this together, and she said, you know what we really need is a sticker And so at that day, whoever felt comfortable enough and safe enough and they felt good about the information that they learned about AB 540 students, we asked them if they would want to put a sticker on their office window or door. And this is what she put together and she designed. And I can't tell you how much this has helped so many students. They always come to me and say, Letty, I saw that sticker and I felt like, good, I could do this. And it says, I am a CCSF advocate, supporter, and ally for AB 540 immigrant students. Ask me about resources. Task force fundraising, we did start doing that as well. And we did raise, the first time I think we raised $3,000, but every semester we've been raising about the same amount. And now we have a forum where faculty and administrators can take money out of their checks. So we have an ongoing flow of funds coming through, which is amazing. We also created the club, the students created the club, the Safe Students Advocating for Equity. And then we, after that, Task Force and Safe Advocates, they decided that they really wanted to have a resource center. And it was at a meeting it was at a Board of Trustees meeting when a student got up and said, we want to have a resource center. And I said, Jose, where's that coming from? I didn't know this. And it happened. So the Task Force and Safe Advocates, they also began to speak at Student Equity Task Force meetings. They became part of the Student Equity Task Force, and this task force was starting to question why there's such a big gap, educational gap and achievement gap. And AB 540 students went on and took on that struggle as well because they, of course, are being affected by this. And they became very vocal at Board of Trustees meetings, and we had one trustee that was very, very supportive, Steve No. And so they decided we do want to get this resource center, and so what they did was they decided to do it through associated students, which is really important. It wasn't the institution, it was through associated students, and there was an office that was open, and they said, let's take this office. And so then they decided that that's what it was going to be, and it was Voices of Immigrants Demonstrating Achievement. It's a small space, but it is an amazing space. I love being there. They had 3 or 4 computers donated by a counseling department. I myself do some drop-in hours. Nancy does drop-in hours there. We have funds to have snacks for students that are hungry. It's an amazing place. It's right in the middle of Student Union. They became very active now, which they never would have before with associated students. They have networked with other programs, with other clubs, and it's just a vibrant place. As small as it is, they actually had a chance to have a bigger space as big as this, and they decided not to because of the location. And then they also organized for institutional funding for paid internships for all students, including AB 540 students. And for 2 semesters, students have been doing paid internship at different places in the community, anything that involves civic engagement. So that's what's been happening at City, and I'm very, very proud of my students, and they've done amazing work.
Good job, Letty. So for our piece of the presentation in regards to Kenyatta College, we're relatively new Dreamers Task Force. We developed in spring 2012. It was easier for us to kind of frame our work chronologically so you can see our progressions. It's definitely, there's still a lot of room for us to grow and a lot of room for us to implement new ideas, especially some of the ones that Letty had mentioned too. So we'll start off with Adriana to talk about the catalyst.
So how it all started. It was already going on in school. People talking to other people. So it was more of an underground thing. So our club, Bridging Hispanic Minds to Success Club, which is a club that helps ESL students pursue a degree and help them through that path of getting a degree, going to 4-year college. So last year, we decided to host an undocumented student forum at Kenyatta. And we did this because there were a lot of questions from not just ESL students, but other students around campus towards what resources where can we go to help undocumented students. So we thought that this event would be supportive, and it would be a good way for other allies to understand undocumented students, and also the fact that it felt safe to have people who supported that and being able to ask questions. So from there, it led to one of the questions that a student had about, okay, so what are we going to do? What is Kenyatta going to do after we have this forum? And that's where it all started.
And based on that question that a student had filled in the audience, it had us thinking for the faculty, staff, and administrators that were in the audience, well, what is our response to that question? What Adriana was mentioning is that there's this kind of underground support network, and some of the institutions here probably have this kind of underground support network of people who are in the know for AB 540 undocumented students. And I also see that some people have more formal AB 540 support networks too. We didn't quite have anything formal in place at Kenyatta, so our goal was to make sure we had transformative student services that was more intentional and upfront and visible in terms of the services we provide for AB 540 undocumented students. With that said, the Vice President of Student Services came to the faculty and staff and encouraged us, well, we should develop some sort of task force so we can discuss what are the issues around AB 540 and undocumented students. And our core charge was to put together a fact and referral sheet. That core charge has expanded tenfold into different type of projects, including a website. So I'm gonna kind of analyze the steps that we took with you so that way you understand our progression. In September, once we developed this task force and put together a team, we organized an initial meeting. In this meeting, we want to do a SWAT analysis, and Amy's gonna go over a little bit what SWAT is. It's the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats at your campus. And we got together as a group of faculty, staff, and students to discuss that. Originally, I thought maybe 5 people on the campus would go. It ended up being a standing room only event, and there was about 25 people that came to this first launch of our task force. We did a peer study session, a group study session. We studied AB 130 together. We studied AB 131, and we reviewed DACA together. Following that in October, we officially launched our task force, and we created an online presence, and we finished our charge of completing a fact and referral sheet, which is now online. And we based it on Laney's model because Laney also had a website. And what's great about other people who have task force and who are doing this work, they're still willing to share. So we kind of copied and pasted, and I took things that said Laney, and I adapted it for Kenyatta, and I particularized the certain departments and the people that help out at Kenyatta as well, too. And I do have to echo the piece that Amy had said. One of our main catalysts as well, too, was witnessing a presentation that City College had done because we wanted to do the work. This just accelerated it when the students hosted a forum. So we're appreciative that you're coming here, and so that way you can build the work at your college. After that, our Dreamers Task Force went out into the community. Our local agencies in the peninsula, such as International Institute, Education for Fair Consideration, had community workshops. Our local high school had community workshops, and we attended so we can educate ourselves. And then the students produced a film as well. Do you want to share info about the film?
Yes. So during all of this, all of these good processes, we had the Kenyatta Movie Festival, which is a 1-week festival where we're provided with laptops and video cameras and everything to produce a 5-minute video. So I thought that this would be a great opportunity for me and other students to share our experiences as an undocumented student, especially after going to previous meetings with the Dreamers Task Force and seeing that it was safe to talk about it. I felt that since I'm also a co-president of our Bridging Hispanic Minds to Success Club, somebody had to step up and say, hey, this is how we're feeling and we need your support. So we made a film, Life Without a Voice. It's on YouTube. And I felt like that video inspired a lot of students to come out and not be afraid, and being able to see that our campus was a safe campus with all of our faculty and staff that are supportive of undocumented students.
Thanks. And I'm going to skim through the last couple of steps so we can get through our other slides. In November, we partnered with E4FC, and if you look at their website, e4fc.org, they have a series of workshops that they can offer, and you can invite them on your campus so they could host that. So we hosted an on-site training, and we also invited our sister colleges, College of San Mateo and Skyline College, to attend as well, so they sent representatives too. In December, our financial aid team and our director of financial aid, Margie Carrington's in the room as well, who's also part of our Dreamers Task Force, organized DREAM Act application clinics. And so several of our Kenyatta College students attended that as well. In January, which is where we're at right now, we're here with you and doing existing continued professional development training so that way we could learn and do some more peer sharing. And then we have a continued step for April.
So this year, following our documented student forum, we want to do something different. So we're going to be screening the movie Papers for 2 days during school hours, and we facilitated with the history teachers around our campus, so students are able to go see that movie and discuss it with their students, and also to ensure that it's not just a Latino issue, but it also applies to other communities as well.
Okay, so for Laney College, we are in the Peralta Community College District, and in Peralta there's 4 colleges: Berkeley City College, Merritt College, Laney, and College of Alameda. These 4 colleges exist within like a 10 square mile area, and so our students experience a lot of, our students are often enrolled in multiple campuses in one semester, and so for us, as we got together as a task force, one of the first things we did was a SWAT analysis to figure out where did we want to start. You know, what were some of the challenges that we were able to identify for our students, for our campus, and for our district. And really the key that we came up with was the difficulty of being able to identify proper procedures to help students move through our system. So regardless of whether or not they're AB 540 students, there's just kind of a lot of ambiguity in our district. And so this was really something that came up as a key issue that we wanted to address as a task force, was to make sure that there were going to be strong procedures that were in place regarding handling the AB 540 affidavit, California DREAM Act form, the BOG fee waiver, different things like this. And so this is some of the work that we've been working on, definitely recommending procedures related to AB 540 students. We've been collaborating with the Peralta Foundation regarding AB 130. Our new executive director is in the room. Also Romeo Garcia, a different Romeo Garcia. And so we'll be
smaller, actually.
there he is. So we'll be meeting with him to kind of revamp that application. Our district also, admissions and records and financial aid is actually centralized, so working with our district to try and make the policies just more clear and to make sure that it's impacting the 4 campuses, not just our campus. Obviously, visibility for our students, our faculty, staff, and administrators, and then working on faculty and staff development. Also, our student workers, so our student ambassadors and our EOPS peer mentors, because now Dreamers are eligible for EOPS as well. And so this is just a brief overview of some of the things that we've been doing. Coming back to visibility really quickly, just as I said, the policies and procedures in our district we feel like are not very strong in many areas, particularly related to Dreamers. And so it's also important for us to work with the district and the 4 colleges to take the opportunity of having a new catalog, to just have something that is student friendly, that is staff friendly, to just really outline those steps.
On the next slide, we're going to discuss who's at the table when you guys develop a task force. And some of the key folks you want to ensure that you have on there are allies, key individuals on your campus who could be potential gatekeepers, and also leaders, whether that be formal or informal. Now, what we mean in terms of allies are who are the experts that you could bring at the table who could bring information regarding AB 130, 131, DACA, the concrete resources that you have at your campus. In our campus, for instance, we partner for E4FC so we can get the most current and relevant information. We partnered with Laney College to get information as well too. Our financial aid department has been working very closely with AB 540 students for a very long time, so we partnered with them as well as too. We have several supporters within the humanities division, particularly in the English department, so we linked up with them as well. And then we have community agencies that we partnered up as well too. Some of the key individuals that are important to note are the ones that could be potential gatekeepers for your students, such as admissions and records, the folks who actually do the documenting of students who qualify for AB 540. Financial aid could also be gatekeepers as well too. The people who interact with your students at the very front lines, so that could be your orientation or your welcome center staff or your one-stop center. Those are some potential gatekeepers that can make or break the impression and the climate that you create for your AB 540 undocumented students. In terms of leaders, you want to make sure that you have formal representation on your task force, whether that be administrators such as your presidents, your vice presidents, your deans, people from the board of trustees at the table as well too, because ultimately they'll be making policy and implementing some of these things at our campuses and within the district. And you also want to grab informal people, informal leaders as well too, people that are significantly influential on your campus, whether that be particular instructors, student services folks, students, people that can make significant impact on your campus. Now, when you think of students, Adriana has a quick note for y'all.
When I heard about this Dreamers Task Force, I immediately thought, okay, I was scared, but I was like, okay, they're all supportive of undocumented students, so I should go. So I went, and I was surprised to see the attendance of not just, it was staff, faculty, administrators, student allies, undocumented students, and we had a big attendance, around 25 people. And it just, once I walked into the room, I felt really good because I thought, okay, now I can be myself. I can express how I feel, and this can probably help other students who are feeling the same way and are scared to bring out their statuses. And it's also, there's a lot of constant communication through email, which is really safe, and also just asking administrators around campus who you see at the Dreamers Task Force if you have any questions, or if another undocumented student has a question and comes up to you, you can help them out by asking administrators or staff if they don't want to come out and say it themselves. And it's a very safe community, and the thing that I really like is that you can be open and express how you feel.
So what Romeo and I have done at our campuses is after we began to identify who are the key leaders on our campus, we brought them together to do a SWAT analysis. So I actually come from a nonprofit world, which is why I use SWAT, but SWAT is just one framework for you to start to gather data around what's happening regarding a significant issue, in this case AB 540, DREAM, DECA, and it's a way to bring all these key players into a room and figure out what do they know, what are they observing, what are their experiences in relation to this issue, and then to begin to form your charge. So SWOT stands for Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats. And strengths and weaknesses are internal, so it's what's happening within your college, what's happening that maybe is within your control. And then external is opportunities and threats. And so here's a modified one, I guess you would call it a SWA, I don't know, but looking at the strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. And so what we've done is we just started to map some of the strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities on our campuses when we started our task force. It's color-coded. So I'm just going to share one. If you look in opportunities, you'll see in green, change in leadership. And so our task force started last spring, and in the summer we also had a change in leadership at the district level. We have a new chancellor, Jose Ortiz, and he has actually been very supportive of working with AB 540 students and has really opened the door to working directly with the district, which is a huge culture shift in our district, where before we couldn't really access leaders at the district level if you belonged to a college and you weren't like super high level. And so he has really encouraged us and empowered us to have that direct connection to the vice chancellor and other key folks on our campus.
A couple examples from the SWAT that we did. We realized that we needed to make sure that we had our outreach programs engaged in our strengths. We have a very strong ambassador program, so we connected with them to make sure that when they go out to the local high schools, they inform them that we have AB 540 work happening at Kenyatta College. We also have Being the Odds peer mentorship program, which also reaches out to a caseload of 10 students each. So we reach out to about 100 students with various status to ensure that they get resources and services on campus. And lastly, in terms of some opportunities, I believe the work that we do through the Dreamers Task Force engages the campus in the dialectic and in discourse. You know, no matter where they stand on the issue, at least the campus is talking about it and is buzzing about it, and then we learn this material together and engage in a fuller, candid conversation about how to best support students at our campus.
I think our biggest strength was having the faculty, staff, and trustee buy-in and support. I think that really helped us to move on with our charge with the task force. I think without that, it would have been a lot harder, and it was able to happen from the start. I think that made a huge difference. One of the weaknesses that we're still trying to work on is the lack of AB 540 student diversity. Again, like the other speaker mentioned, is a lot of faculty and staff think that it's a Latino issue, and it's not. And students are really trying to find ways to make it comfortable and safe for other students to come to the resource center and to get the support that they need and to feel safe. So I would say that those two are one of the strengths and weaknesses.
So from the SWAT, you start to find common themes and opportunities that you want to work on as a task force. So the 3 quick examples from our colleges: at Laney, one of our charges is make recommendations for departmental procedures regarding AB 540 students. At Kenyatta, educate the campus community regarding AB 540 and undocumented students. And at CCSF, educate the college community, support student leadership, and institutionalize policy changes. And you'll see here what some of the examples are. And I'm gonna, let me see. I think we talked about these earlier, so we can just move forward. But you can see how the activities kind of map onto what your charge is, right? So you're not activity oriented, you're goal oriented in your work.
So some of the tips is specifically target administrative support. That's always very important. Identify allies through visible stickers and flyers. Need for point people, that's always important. Who wants to be the point person, and let everybody know who that is. Diversity at the table, that's always really important, that it's not going to be just counselors or just English instructors, but to have people from science, from math, and different departments. And examine the climate to influence your work. That's also important. Is it a climate that's safe? You're going to have to do a little bit of work before you start what you plan to do, and talk to other people that you feel that is going to support you and support others in the institution.
So, okay. Some more tips. Infiltrate, and what we mean by that is infiltrate. Such a strong word. Infiltrate. Get connected with other task force, other committees on your campus where the conversation is happening as well too, whether it be your shared governance meetings, college planning councils, academic senates. Make sure that they're having conversations about this. Recently at our college, we have this department called Center for Innovation, Excellence in Teaching and Learning. And they host various workshops for faculty and staff, and they just sent an email to Dreamers Task Force to host another AB 540 undocumented students workshop as well too. So that conversation is happening at the training for the rest of our faculty and staff. Make sure your task force members are vocal and that they spread the word, and that they do the word of mouth networking of the solid work that you all are trying to do with your task force. And connect with other committees, projects, like we connect with associated students, so that way their student activities are engaging in that conversation about AB 540 and undocumented students. And develop subcommittees within your task force if you have very concrete projects that you want to establish as well too. Did I cover those points?